I've been talking for some time about if Universus is getting simpler or if the game is changing too much. And I want to talk about an example of this that I've been kind of hinting at in social media. I've mentioned on Discord, I've mentioned quite a bit through the podcast, and it's around Deadlock. So Guilty as Strive has no Deadlock in there. And to me, that was absolutely wild. But then I went back a bit further and saw that TMNT also had no Deadlock. And it kind of sent me down this spiral of going back and looking at the Deadlock abilities on cards and whether Deadlock is kind of being phased out, being reimagined, similar to Zero Diffs, or if they're just being less complicated than they used to be. And I think the answer is yes. Take a look at, well, we can't take a look at the most recent because there isn't any more recent Deadlock. The Sun Jin Woo experience bundles have no Deadlock. Guilty Gear Strive has no Deadlock. TMNT has no Deadlock. The Street Fighter Challenger decks have no Deadlock. The last Deadlock we had printed was in Apocalypse. Now, there was a lot of Deadlock in Apocalypse, but it was all kind of one-off, fairly posted abilities that were slightly more powerful than what you got from the base foundations or the base attacks. Code something to your additional speed. There is Question Yourself, a 2-cost 5 control uncommon Death Attune card that has Deadlock enhanced. This attack gains +1 speed. We had basic training in Heroes Clash, which was a Deadlock response after you play an attack. It gains +1 speed, and it was tenacious on a 0-diff common. Now, you have got some things like Destructive March, which is a Deadlock Blitz Ruin 3, but the trade-off there is that this is a 7-cost card and has no other abilities. Yes, it's 10 damage, but it's only 3 speed, so it seems like Deadlock is being more fairly statted. You've got things like Difficult Decision, which just says Deadlock Enhanced, look at the top card of your deck. You can't change it, you may not discard it, you don't get any additional draw or have any other ways to draw outside of the enhance itself, which is to discard and attack, draw 2 cards. And I know I'm just kind of focusing on AOT, so let's have a look at collateral damage. Deadlock Enhance, commit, destroy a rival asset. It's fine, but it also could have just been it could have been a bit more of a cost and a regular enhanced. It's a weird one, especially when we take a look at what we've seen in the past from Deadlock. Deadlock now seems to be a lot fairer and is kind of an inconvenience rather than a threat to stay at 10. We all know Vile Seizing, which just says you are at Deadlock, your opponent is going to give you -2 to all your checks for this turn. That is an absolutely terrifying Deadlock, and the moment you see your opponent is playing Vile Seizing, you know you can't go into Deadlock until all 4 of them are in there, and you need to have a Deadlock out. Similar things to Can't Escape Me from Heroes Clash, which was Deadlock Enhanced Commit, your attack gets +1 speed for each rival committed foundation. This could lead to absolute menacing attacks that could just absolutely decimate. Focused Attack, a Deadlock that lost me top 4 of the EU Nationals in 2023. Deadlock Enhanced, commit 3 rival foundations. This attack gets +X damage. X equals the total printed difficulty of the committed foundations. There are some absolutely brutal Deadlocks in our past, but we're not seeing anything kind of equate to it at the moment, especially seeing as we've had the last 4 products have no Deadlock at all. Now, hopefully Godzilla will have some kind of Deadlock, but it seems to be that UVS is moving into more of a foundation control aspect, where now we have Ruin and the destruction of foundations with things like Unyielding Destruction, Godzilla, and just finding ways for us to control our opponent's foundation stage, and also having more ways that our foundations destroy themselves on cost. To say, yeah, if you want, you can stop your opponent going above 11, but there's nothing stopping us to push our opponent, to push ourselves to go. But we're going, okay, you may get to look at top card of your deck, you may get to get some additional damage, but if you're not adding speed, then I'm going to have the foundations to block. My foundations are going to be defensive, so I'm going to reduce speed, I'm going to draw cards, I'm going to make your progressive difficulty, I'm going to give myself breaker, These are all base abilities that don't even need to go into Deadlock to use, and the Deadlock your opponent is gaining from you going above 10 now is nowhere near as impactful as it used to be. It's a weird one, and I hope we do get to see some kind of more foundation control or some way to punish our opponents for overbuilding. But at the minute, the game is getting less and less threatening by Deadlock. And if we don't see a change, characters like Mikasa and Izuku Midori that want to sit there and build and just have this enormous stage and go, cool, I'm gonna play attacks, and every foundation I commit is gonna become 2 cards that I get to draw with Mikasa. Izuku Midori gets to have this amazingly defensive setup and go, I now have 20 foundations. Here's plus 30 on my attack. If you don't have an instant toss removal, it's a flash attack, so you just die. It's a challenging situation to me. I want to see Deadlock be threatening. I think part of the skill of this game is knowing how to dance around Deadlock as well as threaten Deadlock. And it's a part of the game that seems to be dwindling. It seems to be a part of the game that is going away. Whether it's a similar situation to Zero Day Foundations where they're being changed, where they're kind of being reutilized, but Deadlock is a good anti-aggression strategy. It's a great way to get games to go a bit longer because you don't just get to go build, die. You have to hold back. You need to be more selective with what you use, and you also need to present Deadlock threats. If neither player presented Deadlock threats, we could go into stall-out games anymore. If there's no Deadlock pressure, Rodan becomes stronger. Rodan was already very controlling. Ghidorah gets a lot more harder to deal with because Ghidorah's already kind of hard to deal with. It becomes an absolute nightmare. And this turn 3, turn 4 kind of pivotal moment of the game could become turn 8, turn 9, turn 10 because players are going to build out and then just keep passing back and forth and kind of having this poke pass, waiting for their opponents to overextend, rather than just punching out, having ways to reduce their foundations and putting pressure on their opponents. Deadlock is a pivotal part of this game in terms of controlling aggression, controlling strings, and seeing if and forcing players to make a decision as to whether keep on stringing or whether to pass and maintain their defense. If a person can build to 15, 20 foundations, they get the best of both worlds, and it puts you in a very unfortunate position. I don't think there's an actual answer to this, and UVS aren't going to give us an answer, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have you noticed this downtick in Deadlock? How do you feel about the Deadlock in Critical Role, in Attack on Titan Apocalypse and Origins of Power? Do you think we should go back to the overpowered kind of cage prison situation of the Vile Seizing, the basic trainings, where going into Deadlock was a huge risk because it gave your opponent a bit of a power boost? Or do you think it's better to be in a situation where we are now, where the more foundations you have, the better, the more you have access to, the better, and both players have this kind of even playing field of we can both build out and not get punished for it? But I think that does limit some playstyles. I think control gets a lot stronger, and I think aggro gets not exactly essentially weaker, but kind of push more to the mid range. Mid range players are going to absolutely lap this up, and as a kind of more conservative mid range player myself, it's why I'm starting to see it. I've been playing game preparation for Glasgow regionals, and I noticed that I didn't have Deadlock, but neither did my opponent. So I didn't feel the same pressure as I did this time last year when I built to 11 to 12. I was like, cool, I'll go deep. I will just go all. I don't need to have the Deadlock playrons. I don't need to have the build down. And I think that's why before it rotates, Val Season might rear its head up again and actually cause some trouble at the last few regionals and worlds. People aren't as scared of Deadlock as used to be, and it's a part of the game that you can now punish, especially new players who may not even know how deadly Deadlock can be because they've never really seen it at the moment. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is this a tinfoil hat theory here, or am I on something here that Deadlock is kind of going the way of Enhanced? it's going to be changed, it's going to be nerfed or reutilized. And how do you feel about it? Do you think that Deadlock shouldn't be a thing? Do you think there should be specific abilities that range around how many foundation your opponents have? Or should Deadlock be just completely retired and we just get to build out to have massive stages and go, whoever's got it, got it? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all at game night. And if you want to get access to these videos first, please become a member. These videos go up weeks in advance sometimes, and I'm very excited to see what people feel about this, and it's a great way to support the channel. This has been Brett with Universus, bringing you theories, news, and more, win, lose, or draw. I'll see you at game night. Bye.